Since the beginning of time, marriage has been the foundation of society. And one of the secrets of success in marriage is you don't have to marry the perfect person who's just like you.
Yeah, you see, God has created each of us with a unique set of strengths that when celebrated, rather than stifled, can unlock the true potential of your marriage. In strengths-based marriage, we've drawn from more than 50 years of research from the Gallup Institute, combined with over 35 years of experience in marriage counseling, to develop an incredibly exciting resource that can literally revolutionize your relationship and prepare you for a lifetime of passion and intimacy. And we can't wait to share it with you.
That's right. When you learn to recognize and focus on the strengths of your spouse, you'll be able to celebrate what's right about them and value their God-given differences, not resent them. So join us on this journey to explore how implementing a strengths-based marriage can bring you closer together than ever before with your spouse.
Dr. Donald O. Clifton was a forerunner in positive psychology. Through his research, he identified 34 universal strengths that exist within each individual. Working with Gallup, he developed the Strengths Finder assessment, which reveals how our unique order of strengths affect the way we engage with the world around us, influencing our thoughts, feelings, and behavior. Thousands of businesses, teams, and churches have harnessed this strengths-based approach to interacting, resulting in stronger relationships and greater performance. So what happens when you apply these same ideas to your own personal relationships, or even your marriage? On this journey, you will discover how to thrive in your strengths, recognize the positive traits in your partner, and develop your own strengths-based marriage.
So if you're like me, you're probably wondering to some degree, why does this strengths thing matter to me? I mean, you're saying that it could help our marriage. I get that, but you got to sell me first. And I'm right there with you. Part of what I truly value is this idea of bringing the sciences and the things we can prove up to stand underneath our theology and the things that we believe. And so do you know why it matters to you? Because God said that you are His handiwork. This is what Ephesians 2:10 says. You are His handiwork, made in Christ Jesus for good works, which He prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. So let's just unpack that for a second, because this scripture, I'm telling you, this scripture, it reveals God's intent for you and I. We are His handiwork. That's the Greek word poema. It literally means masterpiece. It's the idea that God spent 3.5 years just working on the bridge of your nose to make it exactly right. And when He stood back and looked at the picture and just really felt comfortable about how it looked, He just broke the brushes, tossed them aside, slid the easel over, got a new one, and started all over again. This concept that we are His handiwork, His masterpiece, means that it's like you and I, we are the Mona Lisa. I mean, think about that. There's only one of you. And it is so ridiculously rare, it's irreplaceable. I mean, the value of that is, it's without compare. So we are His handiwork. And then He says that there is this place where our Christianness, our build, our creation has its rightful place, and it's in Christ Jesus. And then it comes, and that we are made for good works, which He prepared beforehand, that we should walk in them. So how do we get made for good works, and what does that even look like? Are we really set up for success in the world? And if God is saying so, then all right, maybe I dare to believe that. Maybe I take Him at His word. If, after all, isn't that what the Bible says, that without faith it's impossible to please Him? So yeah, all right, I'll step out in faith and I'll believe that you say that I am a masterpiece and I have something unbelievably important to contribute to the world. How am I supposed to find that out? Well, it's a great question. The University of Nebraska was involved in one of these assessments really early, and in the mid-50s, this university invited the dean of the psychology department to do an assessment on all the freshman students that year to see how well they would read. And the main issue was, we want to test and read and maintain or retain your reading at an 80% level. And most of the students were reading about 90 words a minute. So I have an example over here that I want to show you. So 90 words a minute's about a half or a third of a page, and retaining 80% of what they've read. Now, in this jar right here are 90 M&Ms. So you get a sense of how fast they're reading. Reading 90 words a minute, retaining 80% of what they've read. Then there was another group of people who were reading and could read a little bit faster. They were retaining 350 words a minute, or getting to remember and process 350 words a minute. Really good starting point. But then the psychologist decided, we want to put all these students through a speed reading course and test them again at the end and see how they do. And so they trained them for 6 weeks, all of them, the entire freshman class, and then got to the end and processed them again through a speed reading assessment to see how fast they could read and if they were still remembering 80% of what they had read. The results were fascinating. These students who had read 90 words a minute improved to 140 words a minute. Now you can see there's a few more M&Ms in here, and remember, they're still remembering 80% of what they've read. But the students who are reading 350 words a minute, which is what's in this jar right here, you're not even ready for how much they improved. They didn't just go up a little bit. Look at this. Look at this. They went up to almost 3,000 words a minute. Do you have any idea how many pages that is? It means they're reading this page and this page right here. They're reading this page and this page. Then they're taking that one and this one too. And this one right here also. And this one and that one. And remembering 80% of what they've read. Now, if you're like me, you're probably thinking, this is ridiculous. I want that speed reading course. That is going to make a huge difference in my life. And the problem is, you and I fell in the same trap. We believe that the effect of my retention, this amazing reading capacity, is directly related to the training, to the speed reading courses. And it's not, see? Because all of the students, all 4 of them, got all of the training. And so it's not the training that does the trick. It's the fact that those students showed up reading 350 words a minute in the very first place. You have remarkable talent. You have remarkable talent, and you ought to go find out what it is, because, like God said in Ephesians 2:10, it sets you up for success. Not just success, ridiculous capacity. This is how God designed us. We have a reflection of who He is. We're made in His image, right? That's what Genesis says. We're made in His image. So if I have these remarkable abilities, it's because He has them. I mean, if I have arms, it's because He has arms. If I have a brain, it's because He has a brain. If I have remarkable talent, it's because God has invested in you and I ridiculous talent. And the problem with you and I is, we just don't know. We have no idea we have it. And so we've got to find out. Well, so this enters a new idea for us that's worth considering, and it's this idea that we cannot see ourselves. I mean, what do you have to have? What do you have to have in order to see yourself? If you're like me, you're thinking, okay, I got to have a mirror. I get that. And if you want to see the whole you before you're going out, like if you're getting all dressed up and you really want to look sharp and you want to see the whole you, what do you have to have? If you want to see the full picture, what do you have to have? Right, you have to have a full-length mirror. That's the only way you can see all of yourself. I can see pieces of me at a time, but I can't see the whole me. I have to have something or someone else other than me, outside of me, to reflect back to me the full image of who I am. And this is true. It is designed by God this way, and I think it emphasizes why we need each other, and it emphasizes why we need an assessment of sorts, like this strengths test, that helps you see yourself and where you are fantastic. Because you can't see it by yourself. We can see it in each other. That's why community is so important. But we need this mirror. And so the strengths assessment is just a mirror. In and of itself, it has no power. But once you understand the ridiculous capacity, the once-in-a-lifetime ability, the irreplaceably unique investment that God has made in your life and mine, and you come to grips with the reality that that's truly in me, and it's just going to stay there, and probably operate at a 350 words a minute kind of power for the rest of my life, even if I don't do anything about it, then that's good, right? It sort of sets you up for success. I mean, 350 is better than 90 or 140. So you've got an advantage over some of the other folks around you. But it's not completely world class yet. If you want world class, you got to add yourself to what God is investing in you. You got to do something with what you've been given. You've got to put some skill, some experience, some knowledge against those latent capacities that God has invested in you in order to be able to get world-class performance out of it. I mean, come on. Nearly 3,000 words a minute? That's ridiculous. I want that. And every one of us have this ability. Some of us used to think it was only the rare few, but I'm telling you, we all have this remarkable ability to be able to give away something world-class and unique to the world. So, just how world-class or unique is it? Well, this strengths assessment that was created by Gallup, the Strengths Finder assessment, reveals your top 5 strengths. And the 5 are important because it gives you an opportunity to focus on the best of who you are. Now, I want to ask you, if you could find somebody else who had the same 5 strengths as I do, in the same order, how many people do you think you'd have to talk to find that person? Someone who's got the same 5 strengths as mine in exactly the same sequence, because the sequence matters. Do you know that the answer to that is 1 in 33 million people? 1 in 33 million people. That means, according to the world population being about 7.6 billion people at present, there's roughly 200 of us on the planet today. And if you think that's good, wait, we're not done yet. What about if we went to top 6? I mean, realistically, you're using your top 6 or 7, 8 strengths on a regular basis. Gallup just cut it off at number 5 because it's a marketing exercise and they would love for you to buy the rest of them. And there is some value in knowing the rest of them, but your top 5 are really the most important. But what if we went to number 6? How many people would you have to talk to find one person who had the same 6 strengths as me? You know what the answer is? 1 billion. 1 billion. That means there's 7 of you on the planet. You want to do 8? Come on, let's do 8. Do you know how many people you would have to talk to find one person who might have, statistically, the same 8 strengths as you? It's over 700 billion people with a B. Listen, people, this is what I'm telling you. God has remarkably and ridiculously invested His own capacity in your life in shades that you can reflect to the people around you every day. And the only reason you aren't able to reveal that kind of power on the world these days is because you don't know. We need help. We got to find out. And so I want to invite you into this journey. I hope you've seen from this scientific explanation that there is more to you than you suspect. And if you will come with us and discover how wonderfully God has made you, you will be blown away at what a difference it makes to your life and to the life of your marriage.
TBN wants you to discover the truths and principles found in strengths-based marriage, and you will begin to see your relationship with your spouse in a whole new way. Call or go online to request this powerful collection today with your gift of $120 or more, and as our thank you for supporting TBN, we will rush these incredible resources to you today. Call 800-626-7454 or visit tbn.org/strongmarriage.
If you're just tuning in, welcome to Strengths-Based Marriage. We have a guest couple with us today. Let's have a look at how their strengths influence their marriage.
Today's couple is Kyle Windebank and Mary Fox from Colorado Springs, Colorado. Kyle's top 5 strengths are restorative, context, learner, command, and intellection. Mary's top 5 strengths are positivity, relator, arranger, harmony, and communication.
Well, I'm Alan Kelsey, and this is Jimmy Evans. We're the co-authors of Strengths-Based Marriage, and we're so excited to spend some time today with Kyle and Mary. I mean, you guys traveled a good distance to come here today. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course, thanks for having me.
For our viewing audience, why don't you just give us a little bit about what you do and what your marital status is, and just a snapshot of the pair of you.
Yeah, so currently we're engaged, getting married about 3 weeks from now.
Wait, so you're not married yet?
Not married
You
yet.
got a fresh set right
Oh,
here.
wow, we love it.
I love it.
Yeah, so 3 weeks. We're both currently in the Springs. We are working and moving forward and preparing for marriage.
Yeah.
I did a lot of pre-marriage counseling when I first came in the ministry. You guys are so wise to slow down and prepare yourselves before you get married. Because first of all, it just is going to save you a lot of heartache that you would have gone through. And secondly, you're just going to have success and blessings because of that, because you prepared. And you don't know your strengths.
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. You haven't even had a chance to look at each other's or to know what they are yet. So why don't we start with that? Should we just get in and kind of talk about them? All right, ladies first.
Okay.
So you ready, Mary? I'm about to reveal to you, or to Kyle, because you know what yours are. So her number one strength is positivity, which means that she kind of has this tendency to look at the glass half full, not half empty. And so that's a very positive outlook for life. But it also has an implication, which means she needs a positive environment. And if she finds one that's not that kind of positive, she'll work really hard to convert it so that there's hope in the room. But if after a length of time she can't get the room converted, she'll leave. I mean, it's that big of a deal. It's that much of a filter for her. She has to have a positive environment. Next one is relator. So she loves one-on-one relationships, loves deep, meaningful conversation. I'll give you a hint here. Relators love to have eye-to-eye contact when you're communicating. If you mess around with your phone while you're talking to her, whoo, I'm telling you, you're liable to get a little over. All right, number 3 is arranger. So your arranger is just the idea that you intuitively know how the pieces fit together, and you have a sense of what will work best for that particular mix. If I take one out and put another one in, then you mix it differently because that's a different mix of things. And so it works for people and it works for stuff. She's just naturally good at arranging. And then the 4th is harmony, which means that you just will make room for others, and you'll make adjustment even if it costs you a little something in order to make it so that everybody can get along, and you really value community, unity, for people thinking and working together. So you're a very natural team builder, which is wonderful. And then the last is communication. So she loves to be able to communicate. So in this regard, I have a question for you then, Mary. Communication is both written and spoken. Which is your preference? And if it's both, can you split them up like 60-40, 20-10? How would you do it?
First initial thought is 100% verbal, spoken.
Speaking, yes.
I appreciate more that side of communication versus written. Though I have an appreciation, and overall it's probably like a 80 spoken, 20 written.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there any of this that you find confirming in the way that you know her to be?
For sure. I think her positivity is something that jumps out definitely,
Yeah.
as I have viewed our relationship as a very positive person, ready to jump into a situation and like you were saying, make the glass half full for sure. So
Yeah.
I think it's a phenomenal strength to have as number one. Sometimes what can happen in marriage is that we look at our spouse's strengths and we think, well, Mary's just naive. She's always positive. And so I need to give the balance of that and tell her Armageddon's next week. You really need to get some negative in here because bad things are coming. I'm not saying you're doing that today. I'm saying after 10 or 15 years of marriage, sometimes the positivity can wear on you. And the point being, she's wired that way from birth. And so she's not going to be that way today. She can be that way 50 years from now. When y'all are celebrating your golden anniversary, 50 years from now, my wife and I, we're the same as we were when we were 19 years old, our general strength. So I think it's a fantastic strength.
Okay, Mary, you ready to hear about this man you're about to marry?
I am.
Okay. So number 1, he starts with restorative, which means he can look at people or things and has this intuitive sense of how to bring the former glory back. Like there might be something missing and he knows how to repair it. And he has a motivation to see that happen. Then next is context, which means that you have just as much interest in how we got here as where we're going. and you just bring kind of past experiences into present conversation, because for you, it's a very relevant contributor to today's, kind of experiences. You have learner at number 3, which means you have this persistent curiosity about a wide range of things, which is great. Kyle, then you have command, which is a very strong leadership kind of a gift. It's a gift that brings very natural structure and order to things or people. And you have a good sense of how to lead a company, not just a crowd. So I think that's a good insight to have. And then the last one is intellection, which means the gears are always turning. That hard drive upstairs is always running, and you might come across him from time to time sort of staring out of a window, and you're wondering what he's looking at, and he's not looking at the window. He's off somewhere else in his head, kind of postulating and measuring things, and you might wonder, like, is he even here? Like, what's happening? I don't know. But it's a wonderful strength, because what you digest and what you ruminate on creates wonderful product in the end of it. So is there anything surprising or confirming then for you, Mary, as you think about what you've just heard for him?
I would say not surprising. A lot of what you're saying defines who he is. Now it just puts words to things I've observed about him. So like restorative, he always sees projects and wants to work with his hands, or he always is reading, which is great. I love that. So he reads all these books at night, late into the night, and then he comes, this is what I'm reading about. Malcolm X. That was his last book he read about. And we had a car ride, and he talked all about it. And I was like, yeah, I don't mind learning. It's fine. What was some of the command? Makes total sense. And then the one where he's thinking in his brain, that's totally makes sense. Where we're having a conversation sometimes, and I can see the gears kind of rolling in his brain.
Yeah.
It totally makes sense.
All right, so when I put these two together, okay, because this is like soup. Now, all these ingredients are about to go into one container, and we're going to see what comes out of all of that. I'm aware, because of the strengths that the two of you have, that there may be an opportunity for misunderstanding just if you default to your natural position. Now, I'm not painting doom and gloom for your marriage. What I'm saying is, I think there's opportunity here for you to avoid pain in the future by knowing each other in a more deep kind of way. So, Mary, you have communication, which means that the distance between your thought and what you say is really short. And it's very clear. And so what you say is genuinely what you think. And so it just really easily comes out. Kyle, you have restorative, which means that you inherently have an ability to see what's not there or what's missing and want to bring it so that you can restore the thing, make it as beautiful as it was all along. But both of these two strengths lend themselves to elements of being misunderstood for different reasons that we probably don't have time to get involved with right now. But if you'll just take my word for it, it is often true. Hers being misunderstood because she transacts on the value of the words. Like because what she thinks and what she says is so close, like those are the same thing, she takes what's said as being at face value. So that must be what the people are thinking. Whereas that's not always the case with the rest of us. We know that. You, on the other hand, are so accustomed to seeing what's not there, you look for it in dialogue also. So you look for it in communication. And so you often wonder, like, what else is there that's not being said? And so I just see potentially you guys not being understood with each other at times. Talk to me a little bit about your dialogue and the quality of how you feel you communicate.
Yeah, I would agree. And I would say, like, what you're communicating happens sometimes. But what we've learned to do is if I'm verbally processing or just saying what's coming out in my thoughts, I just tell Kyle, hey, this is just what I'm thinking right now. It's not a set thought. It's not where I'm landing at this moment. It's just my verbal process to try to get where he's already at or some of the missing parts I'm trying to communicate that.
As you guys are sitting here, what I'm thinking is this. You could flood him with words, right? And you ever feel that way?
It's happened, yeah.
Yeah. And so what happens is one of her deepest needs, a woman's deepest needs, is for open and honest communication. And so when you're communicating with her, she doesn't just want information, she wants emotion.
Kyle and Mary, there's It was such a joy being able to spend time with you today. We've really just gotten to unpack some of the elements of your strengths and how they play into each other. But we're excited about you guys getting married and what the future holds, and you being able to balance your strengths with each other and move on to a powerful, long-lasting marriage. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you
you.
so much.
I love to see stories like that. That's why we do what we do, and an example of the impact these powerful resources can have on your marriage.
Yeah, for example, maybe your number one strength is empathy and your spouse's strength is to be restorative. Being aware of that is so important because it will help you to understand how each of you think. Because while someone who is empathetic will feel what others are feeling, a restorative spouse will see a problem and try to fix it. They both want there to be resolution and understanding, peace and growth, but their perspectives are completely opposite and, if misunderstood by each other, can be cause for some really heated discussion.
But trust me, no matter what situation you're in, your marriage can thrive in every area, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And we want to help you experience that today. So request your strengths-based marriage resources with your gift and discover the principles you need to see yourself, your spouse, and your marriage in a new, amazing way.
TBN wants you to discover the truths and principles found in strengths-based marriage, and you will begin to see your relationship with your spouse in a whole new way. Call or go online to request this powerful collection today with your gift of $120 or more, and as our thank you for supporting TBN, we will rush these incredible resources to you today. Call 800-626-7454 or visit tbn.org/strongmarriage.
Thanks for joining us on this journey of discovery. It's amazing how focusing on what's right in our relationships can strengthen marriage in ways we never thought possible.
Yeah, join us next time when we'll dig deeper into how operating in our strengths releases a chemical reaction in the brain that's a feel-good gift from God. Plus, we'll explore how you can operate more like a talent scout in your marriage, setting each of you free to put your talents to use in the areas where each of you are most gifted. God designed us to be different, and when we celebrate those differences, we become stronger, more successful as a team. I can't wait to see what God reveals for all of us in our relationships in the next episode of Strengths-Based Marriage. See you then.